In this free Reinventing Leadership video series, I'm answering some of the biggest questions leaders ask and helping to solve some of the toughest leadership problems. All of the videos in this series are based on my book, Reinventing Leadership. And if you want a copy, I'll give you a digital copy for free. Details at the end of this video. I'm Brett Thomas, leadership trainer, mentor, and coach, and I've been helping leaders solve their biggest problems, influence and motivate their teams, and guide their organizations to success for more than 20 years. If you want to become a more influential, a more impactful, a more successful leader, then take a moment right now to watch this short video and grab a free copy of my book at the end of it. In this video in the series, I'll answer the question, what leadership qualities and skills are most important to be successful as an organizational leader? In my book, Reinventing Leadership, which I'll give you a free copy of if you want, details at the end of this video, I spend a whole chapter answering this question. It's chapter 2, titled Integral Leadership. In this short video, I'm going to highlight some of the most important ideas from this chapter to help us answer this important question. Chapter 2, Integral Leadership. When you begin to wade into the field of leadership theory and practice, you'll find a large body of information coming from various schools of thought, each asserting the right way to lead. Each of these schools of thought, riddled with bias and one-size-fits-all thinking, advocates their specific leadership approach, often as the best way or even the only legitimate way that leaders should lead. Some schools of thought emphasize the character traits of the leader. Others emphasize leadership's best practices. Each school offers incomplete truths that do in fact work some of the time when paired with the right people and circumstances. However, almost none of them tell you which people and circumstances. Worse, in many cases, their singular approach, when paired with the wrong people, backfires spectacularly, often destroying the credibility of the leader while demoralizing the team. If you've read a dozen books on leadership, you may think, wow, it seems like none of these people can agree on what leadership is, how it works, or how to develop it. If you do think that, you are right. The integral view of leadership offered in this chapter and in this section of the training will explain why that is the case and will offer something few other experts can offer: a coherent explanation of how these diverse leadership theories fit together and a framework that can be universally applicable across leader-follower contexts. What is missing from nearly all of these textbooks is any kind of credible or cogent unifying thesis or model of leadership. These books are like a buffet of different theories and views of leadership. However, very few of them attempt to synthesize these together into a coherent map or model of some kind. The reasons why no one, until now, has attempted, much less succeeded, in this task will become clear as you read this chapter and as we go through this section. Ken Wilber's integral maps feature dimensions of human experience that hold the key that would unlock our elusive unifying theory of leadership. Once we applied these integral frameworks as sort of a meta map or overlay, every one of the hundreds of leadership theories and thousands of practices easily clicked right into place seamlessly. To reduce the clutter and not be overwhelmed by these numerous theories, we can place them into 4 broad categories based on their view of leadership, what they see and emphasize: the trait view, the behavioral view, the styles view, and the circumstances view. The trait view of leadership. So-called trait theories ask the question, what personality traits make a good leader? This approach to leadership assumes that effective leaders share a number of personality characteristics or traits. The behavioral view of leadership. The next lens is the so-called behavioral theories, which asks the question, what do effective leaders do? For example, does the leader give orders or direct followers to do things and assume compliance? Or does the leader take an indirect approach by inquiring into the followers' perspectives about the project and discussing and deciding together what should be done next? Does the leader make the decision himself or herself, or does the leader encourage the followers to participate in the decision-making process? The styles view of leadership. You can start to see how the arc of leadership thinking evolved over time. We moved from the traditional trait theories to the slightly more psychologically savvy behavioral theories. This leads us to the next major lens of leadership theory that we call the styles view. The styles view of leadership recognizes that different people adopt a variety of leadership styles as a result of many factors, and innate personality traits are but only one of those factors. Just like in sports or the arts, styles can be learned and can be adapted and evolved over time because they're behaviors. And as we see in sports and in the arts, as practitioners cultivate greater versatility, they can even master more than one style and use different styles in different circumstances. The circumstances view of leadership. After a few more decades, management science and leadership theory benefited from an even more sophisticated understanding of psychology and human behavior. With the advent of systems theory, theorists were able to apply a much more coherent understanding of the role that circumstance plays in leadership performance. This brings us to the circumstances view of leadership. These theories ask the question, how do the context and the circumstance influence leadership effectiveness? One of the most important aspects of circumstances, which is sometimes underemphasized, is the role that followers play. In a leader's circumstance or context, one of the most important aspects is the needs, values, worldviews, mindsets, styles, and preferences of the followers and the teams the leader is supporting or attempting to influence. As a simple convention to organize all these different theories into some kind of logical groupings, we will use the convention of time. I will introduce the 4 fundamental leadership paradigms seen across nearly all of the leadership theory literature. This is an important pattern that my colleagues and I at the Integral Institute and the Stegan Leadership Academy discovered that eventually led us to a unifying theory of leadership that is the foundation of our universal leadership model. The imperial leadership paradigm. This is the original and the oldest leadership paradigm. This is the view of leadership that began in the Bronze Age. In ancient times, leadership was fused with power. Bookstores are filled with popular titles that are written by authors who subscribe to this imperial leadership paradigm and who are advocates for it. People who adopt the imperial leadership paradigm believe that everyone wants power and everyone is in a constant duplicitous game to gain more power at the expense of others. In the book, I go through and I list numerous theories that fall under the imperial leadership paradigm. The traditional leadership paradigm. Traditional leadership theories are based on concrete thinking that causes theorists to think in terms of leadership laws and/or leader character traits. Leadership laws amount to concrete, unchanging rules that should be followed in every situation. The main difference between the traditional leadership paradigm and the modern paradigm is that the former places an emphasis on either positional authority or perceived moral authority. Many of these traditional leadership advocates draw their understanding of leadership psychology from traditional religious texts. In my book, I give many examples of leadership theories that fall into this leadership paradigm. The modern leadership paradigm. As the name implies, the modern leadership paradigm benefits from modern psychology and an industrial or post-industrial view of business management. Think of Tom Peters' search for excellence in the 1980s, Peter Drucker's modern management theory, and strategy and innovation pioneers such as Michael Porter and Clayton Christensen, Harvard Business Review articles, and so on. The modern paradigm emphasizes how scientific and rational dimensions of organizational life lead to excellence and/or competitive advantage. Leadership theorists who view organizational life through this modern lens have developed theories with names like competency theory, game theory, and transactional leadership theory. The postmodern leadership paradigm. Many leadership books that promote work-life balance, emotionally aware, resonant leadership, also known as emotional leadership or emotionally intelligent leadership, egalitarian leadership, inclusive leadership, and practices such as appreciative inquiry are all reflections of this postmodern leadership paradigm. Some of the most popular leadership theories that fall under this postmodern paradigm include transformational leadership, emergent leadership, and adaptive leadership. Again, I give many examples of different theories in the book. I'll let you refer to them there. And now that we've introduced the four leadership paradigms, now we move into the simplicity on the other side of complexity. While all of the academic and theoretical underpinnings summarized in the book in this section on leadership theory are helpful, as I see it, in practice, this all really boils down to just three things. I call these the three pillars of legit leadership theory. The three pillars of legit leadership theory. Number one, circumstances. The context, which includes the situational dynamics and especially emphasizes the people, their worldviews, needs, and leadership preferences. Number two, skills. What leaders actually do. In other words, the concrete abilities, techniques, and behaviors. And three, styles. The leadership styles that correspond to the worldviews or value systems of the followers or group. Okay, I've provided an overview of leadership theory with an emphasis on why most leadership theories and models contradict one another. We can now see that leadership approaches, or styles, as I call them, must be paired with the psychology, especially the worldview, of the followers, if the approach is to be well received or even remotely effective with that group of followers. As we move to the next section, the Leadership Rosetta Stone presents a solution to this problem by providing a simple yet powerful framework for understanding how leadership styles actually work with followers with different psychological makeups. So that's all the time we have for this short video. As I mentioned, I'm giving away a free digital copy of my book, Reinventing Leadership, and a free training where I whiteboard out on video all the main ideas in the book, and I explain in very precise detail what all the most successful leaders do, their 3 abilities and 9 skill sets, and I tell you exactly how to implement the world's most effective leadership skill building method. If you want to become a more influential, impactful, and successful leader, then definitely take a moment to click the link below this video or point your browser to reinventingleadership.com. I look forward to continuing this conversation in the free training on my website. So click the link and I'll see you shortly.